Hi everyone, welcome to our first session, which we're going to have a little bit of overview of what is operations and what is managing supply chain means. Operation management is basically all those planning, scheduling, and control of many activities alongside all those supply chain activities to technically transform what we put in as a materials or needs or information into a finished good or service at the end. So basically, we do have inputs, it can be materials, intangible needs or informations. Then we have the transformation process happening, which is the manufacturing or service operations. Then we do have output, can be tangible goods or can be fulfill needs or can be satisfy customer at the end. So then we have supply chain. Supply chain is a bigger picture where it's the flow of products and materials all the way from the supply and come to manufacturer, and from manufacturer goes all the way to the customer. In this supply chain management system or network, we do have upstream where activities or firm position early in the supply chain, and then we do have downstream where we are more closer to the customers and position later in the supply chain. In terms of upstream and downstream, we do have different tiers. If they are closer to the main manufacturer in the middle, can be tier one, tier two. As far as it goes, those tiers numbers can even increase. Let's have a look at this great example of chocolate manufacturing. Right in the middle, we have the Cadbury Chocolate Factory, for example, in Tasmania, and then on the left side, we go to the supplier. So you can see on top, we have tier one supplier, and then it goes all the way to raw manufacturing. It can be tier 2 or tier 3, or when we're looking into, for example, where the chocolate comes from, where the dairy farms are, or the sugar canes from. So we're looking into all those raw manufacturing. Now when we're looking at the right side, technically you can see still on the top we have different tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3s. And also you can look into, we have warehousing, we have, for example, retail, and at the end is the end user. Who is the end user? Is the customer, right? So it's a great example of the entire supply chain. So as we mentioned earlier, supply chain is a network of manufacturers and services that work together to be able to serve the end customer. Managing the supply chain is very important. So basically, all those activities happening throughout the supply chain, we need to be able to manage it to maximize the customer value and achieving sustainable competitive advantage. So that's the main goal in managing the supply chain. This is a similar picture of same as the Cadbury example. So we have the product services flow at the bottom, you can see in the red color, and then we have cash and finance information, they flow both sides. A good example of this, if product, why we say it's a flow both sides. So from supply all the way to the customer, and if the product is not working, there's always a reverse process involved, same as cash and same as information flow all the way both sides in our supply chain. Now let's have a look at value adding and supply chain strategy, which is very important to us. It's important to understand the concept of the value. All those processes and networks that we have in supply chain and all those operation management activities that they do, it's very important that we add value to our raw materials and comes from manufacturer, and then we have a product at the end. And customers, they do see, or customers or stakeholders, they do see those values that already created. So basically, the value is a perception of the benefit associated with the good and service in relation to what buyers are willing to pay for them, right? So that's very important to us. And also, value proposition is competitively dominate customer experience. So these terms or concept is really important for us to understand. There are many processes, or we call it value chain or supply chain, involved, such as network of facility and processes. They're looking into the flow of the goods and service from the supplier all the way it goes to our customer. We can see in our primary value chain activities, we have inbound logistic operations, then outbound marketing, sales, and services. So Porter basically introduced a value chain model. As you can see, all those from the suppliers, they have their own internal value chain and potential customers, they have the internal value chain, and all of these are joined together. So if any of this, any part of this supply chain or value chain goes wrong, the impact is to the downstream, it's actually significant. So it's very, very important that we understand that. In Porter's value chain, we do have some primary activities that we mentioned previously as well: inbound logistics, operation, outbound logistics, sales and marketing and services. And we do have alongside some support activities like firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, and procurement. And all goes to our margin. One strategy in supply chain is actually outsourcing. So basically, it's a process that you allocate a task or processes to an outside company or the third party provider. Most developed nations have experienced wave of outsourcing, for example, good producing jobs, simple service work, skilled knowledge of work, and stuff. So if the total cost of outsourcing is less than total cost of in-house production, then outsourcing is a good decision. But if it's not the case, that's not the right decision for that product. So it's very important that managers or companies they understand the consequences of outsourcing and also the costs involved or associated. Now let's move to global environment and operation strategy, which is really important for our operations because we can identify the weakness and also we can develop operational strategy accordingly. At the same time that the global supply chain has lots of benefit, there are lots of challenges and issues that we really need to understand them as managers. So global supply chain face higher level of risk and uncertainty. I think that one of the good example of this can be COVID-19. Transportation can be more complex in global supply chain. Imagine if the goods need to move from one continent to another continent. So that's also the complexity of it. Global purchasing can be a difficult process to manage. Imagine different countries, different regions, they might have different processes, and also if there are some issues, there might be legal challenge. There are so many challenges around that, and also required the understanding of the culture and practices before we actually expand our supply chain to other nations. So there are so many issues and challenges that we need to be aware of and we need to be able to manage it. When we're talking about operation and supply chain, a strategy is basically a functional strategy that indicate how structural elements, like for example, all those capacity, location, integration, networking, and technology, and infrastructure element, for example, the quality leaders and team management, with the operation and supply chain area will be accurate and developed to support all the overall business strategy. We mentioned structured decision categories, for example, capacity, amount, type, timing of capacity change, facilities, warehousing, distribution, manufacturing, size, location, degree of specialization, and also be looking at technology, for example, service manufacturing processes, material handling equipment, transportation equipment, information systems. So there are so much sitting here. When we're looking into global view of operations supply chain, the always question come to mind is domestic operation or organization need to think about how they can go global, right? Why are they thinking this way? Because with the global supply chain, we're looking into improving the supply chain, reducing cost and also exchange rate of risk, improve operation, understanding of market, improve products, attract and retain global talents. So it's very important for us that we be able to understand the a global view or global perspective of operation and supply chain. And this is the end of this session, and I hope by this session we have a good overview of operation and supply chain in general. And by going to all those next sessions, we will actually go deeper into each of those topics related to operation and supply chain. Thank you and all the best.